I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Number 2, we will call the February 16th, 2023 Village Board meeting to order. Roll call shows that Jim is excused and Peter is excused and Julie is on the phone and Allie is also excused. Otherwise, all board members are here and department heads and the attorney. 4, agenda changes. Are there any? Okay, we'll go to 5, consent agenda. A, February 2nd, 2023 regular board meeting minutes. B, presentation of accounts and other claims against the village. If there are no questions, I would need a motion.
I just mentioned a couple corrections to Jane before we started, just a spelling correction on one name, and then under the bold report, it's Fox Wolf Water Alliance instead of Fox Globe, so that just minor.
Okay, so you want to make a motion with those corrections?
Sure. I will move to approve the consent agenda with the corrections noted.
Second.
Roll call. Shauna?
Aye.
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 Julie?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 6, pre-registered citizens to be heard. Are there any?
There are none. Nobody signed up.
Okay. Then we'll go to 7, committee reports. A, library board.
We meet on the 28th, so that was extra on there.
Okay. 8, unfinished business from previous meetings. There is none. 9, new business. A, discussion and possible action on resolution R-1-23, resolution to approve West Wind subdivision preliminary plot.
So the planning and zoning met and had two public hearings to discuss the replat of West Wind. The first one, there's a few concerns that the village staff had, so then we met back with the developer and the engineering firm that the developer has and kind of came to some resolutions on a few different issues that the village had. Basically, we looked at all other options that we could have done other than having the stormwater ponds, and nothing was feasible financially for the village to take on or the developer. So what we have in front of you, you should have the preliminary plat of Westwood Estates. The public hearing, there was one citizen who talked about a concern that she had. She lives next to one of the proposed stormwater ponds and asked if she could get potentially a portion of land there so she could build a fence, because her edge of her parcel is a little close to the lot line. And basically what was said to her was that at this time the village couldn't agree to that, even at that meeting. That what she could do is petition the village at a later date in order to do that, and and ask the village board for that. Other than that, the developer, we have a water and sewer easement that goes through between the center of 16 and 15, and then 8 and 9, with also a proposed trail that cuts through there too. That gives the gives the village at least area where we know we won't have to destroy anything to dig up if we need to do work on our water laterals or our water lines. So that was one of the concessions the developer made for us. Is there any other questions or concerns?
What, is there any planting or plans for around the ponds as far as safety concerns? Or?
Well, no safety concerns. There is a safety shelf designed in. And then we have some ideas that we're going to be discussing with the developer to maybe do some specific type of planting there, just to make it a little bit more attractive and less maintenance in the future for the village as we take over the maintenance of those ponds out into the future. Some of the things we're looking at right now is like maybe putting in native wildflowers or something like that, that once they're established will be a lot more easy to maintain in the future. But we need to talk with the developers about that.
That should help with water too, if
Yep.
it's needed.
Any other questions? Julie, do you have any questions?
No, I do not.
Okay. If there are any other questions, we would need a motion.
So I just so I'm clear, so this granting preliminary plat approval, but then it comes back to us in April, am I reading that correctly for final approval or not?
So basically, at this point, if it's approved, the village would then work with our legal counsel to come up with the developers agreement. Once the developers agreement's approved and they check all the other boxes, then we'd bring it back for final approval-ish. So,
Okay. Well, I move to approve R-1-23 resolution granting preliminary plat approval of West Wind subdivision.
so these are front pages.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Aye.
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 Julie?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. B, discussion and possible action on 2023 WNDR drinking water testing quotes.
So this is we have 2 quotes for our yearly drinking water requirement testing that we need to do. And they're more expensive than they have been in years in the past, which is why they came here. Most of that is due to additional PFAS testing that's required by the state. So we got a quote from Northern and then Badger Labs. We're in the same situation as a lot of other municipalities from listening in on some of the league meetings, is because this is an increased cost for all the different communities due to this increased testing. And I think, Northern had the best price, and it's someone that we've been with in the past, so I guess staff would recommend that we stay with Northern to do this testing.
How much higher is it than last year?
It's quite a bit higher than last year because it wasn't, every other year is more, but with the similar testing besides the PFAS, it was about 3,000 2 years ago, so now we're up to about 5,800. And that increase is a lot better than some of the other communities that are a little bit larger than us that have to do a lot more of the additional testing, but everybody's feeling it.
Any other questions? If not, I would need a motion.
I'll move to approve Northern Lake Service Incorporated for the 2023 WDNR drinking water requirement testing in the amount of $5,835.91.
Second.
Second. Shauna?
Aye.
Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. C, discussion and possible action on payment of Chimera invoice for ferric chloride, inorganic coagulant for wastewater treatment plant. That was a moment.
So this is just coming to the board for approval of payment. This cost has gone up, again, probably about $2,500 from last year. This is for chemicals that we need in our wastewater treatment facility, and I just included a summary that we got from the distributor that kind of shows all the logistical and inflationary pressures that are on them, why their costs have increased. We did have preliminary conversation with some other vendors, and they were all, Chimera is gonna be by far the cheapest route you're gonna be able to take for this. They kind of specialize in it.
So this is a year contract?
This is, it usually takes about 3 to 5 months to go through this. So, right now, we have budgeted for this line item for $20,000. So, we're okay now, but depending on where the next shipment comes in, we may be a little bit over on this line item. Just wanted to make the board aware of it.
Are there any other questions? We would need a motion then.
Need a motion to approve the payment, I'm assuming. I make a motion to approve payment to Chimera, is that correct?
Yep.
In the amount of $12,217.60.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, Shauna.
Aye.
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 Aye. Julie?
Aye.
Motion carried. Discussion and D is discussion and possible action on flow-through and recirculating splash pads.
So right now, we're in the process of putting out an RFP for design and engineering of phase 1 of the Alonzo Park plan that got approved. And MSA is helping us put together at least an initial draft of the RFP that will go out to everybody. And one of the things that they need to know in order to put this RFP out is whether we want to go with a flow-through option for our splash pad or recirculating option. And basically, it's if we want the water to be contained in a self-contained system and completely flow through and just keep being recirculating, or use water that's coming from the city or the village and just either go out to the lake or go put back into our sewer system and run back through the plant. There's a couple different communities that have both. Most are flow through. Did get an answer on that question, and
Okay.
right now, at least the communities that work with MSA, Nakusa, Verona, Wisconsin Rapids, Boston, Reedburg, Sauk City, Port Edwards, all have flow-through systems, and Barnville, Tomahawk, and Chilton are all in the process of design or putting those in. Madison, Beaver Dam, and Sussex do have recirculating systems. The biggest thing with recirculating systems is it puts you into basically what the state considers a municipal pool. So there's additional staff needs as far as being able to test the water twice a day, I think. Yeah, twice a day. And a larger upfront engineering cost. I think that after researching a little bit more, if we could do the flow-through option in more of a sustainable way to cut down on our water use by having our engineer some controls, such as there's a bunch of things you can do to cut down on the water use, such as having buttons, big like pink or red buttons that the kids can hit to turn it on so it's not running all the time. Having it staggered so different things are on at different times. So there's a lot of different things that we could actually use to cut down the water use in the flow-through option, and then not have to do all the additional costs for the recirculating option. We don't have to decide right now whether we want the outflow from the flow-through option to go into the lake, straight into the lake, or back through our system. That can be decided once we get an engineer in place, but I guess the engineering firms that do the work are different from a flow-through system to a recirculating system, so we need kind of a decision on which direction we want to go to be able to put that out to bid to start that process.
Did you talk to anyone who has it funnels into the system, into the sewer system or water system?
From what I could find, it looks like most do.
Oh, they do?
Yes.
Okay. So that would be
The
definitely
biggest
saving water.
thing that we'd have to have our engineers check out is that our system would be able to handle that inflow of water, because it's a pretty large additional input into our capacity that we already have. Just some preliminary estimates that we looked at today would be about adding 200 to 400 residents to the system that we have based on the water that came through. Now, like I said, there's different engineering controls we can put on that to try to limit that water. But most of the flow-through systems don't just output directly into a water source. They go back through the municipality.
Okay.
There's also a lot less of a liability for the village. There has been certain instances in different states that I came across that where in the recirculating system there wasn't enough chlorine added or something like that, and kids ended up getting sick because the water got contaminated and it got recirculated through and started contaminating people. And there's been other instances where there was too many chemicals added, and kids were getting burned from the water that was coming through. Whereas if you do a flow-through system, it's basically water coming from your tap water that's going through, the municipal water that's going through. So there's hardly any chemicals that you really need to add to the water as it's coming through. And then it's constantly fresh water, so you don't run into that problem.
So it would be much safer to do the flow through.
Safer, cheaper, but it will use more water.
Yeah.
And depending on where the output is, it might, you have to deal with the processing side.
Any other questions?
I just wanted to say Aaron was answering, because I came in today and I appreciate the time you guys gave me. There's lots of questions asking if other villages or cities had the recirculating, and there are a lot of concerns, but then the idea of the flow through into the system was offered. Aaron mentioned that, and I thought if that could be a possibility, at least we wouldn't be wasting all that water. And then wondering what the DNR will say about the whole thing anyway, right? Because they'll have to approve.
And I think that would make the process a lot simpler with the DNR as well, if we're not discharging directly into the lake.
And you brought up the temperature concern of the water discharging too. So,
And a lot of the details and things like that can be worked out once we get into design with a chosen engineering firm. But the biggest thing is they just need to know which direction we need to go for that RFP.
So we're having to test this 2 times a day. On weekends, we would have to call back our public works, and it would be a call in, and we would be paying a lot more.
And we'd have to get
Wages.
at least one person certified,
Probably need two.
probably
You can't
two.
have one
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
always on call.
which isn't a huge process, but it's I think it's 16 hours or something like that, of training that they would need to do.
Do you need a motion on this or a head nod to which one?
Direction.
Yeah, if you wanna just give us a direction on where you guys are feeling, I guess.
Okay.
I guess
No.
I'm leaning for the flow through, just based on price and staffing requirements and amount of maintenance that actually is gonna have to take place. I mean, I hate the idea of wasting the water, but, I think it's a better choice.
I would say the flow through just for all those reasons plus safety.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with flow through.
After talking today, I'm leaning more flow through, but with any kind of sustainability that we can, like in there, all the chemicals and
Yeah.
just like you mentioned, the weekends, we didn't even talk about the weekends today, but just the amount of.
I think we can try to work with our engineer to put as many of those engineering controls on water use as
Mhm,
possible.
Any environmental things that they can consider to try to,
Because I'm sure we're not the first community that brought up those issues, so I think there's a lot of designs that you can do to cut down on the water use.
Thank you.
Julie, what are your feelings?
I agree. I think it was half that spoke. I mean, I agree, like with a flow-through system, but if we can find some ways to make the equipment that it doesn't use as much water as just running constant, that's where I said.
Okay, so go ahead. E, discussion and possible action on downtown trail design and parking layout.
So we've been in discussions with the business owners in the downtown area on different things that we may be able to help with or do, or things that they'd like to see behind the businesses in the downtown area. And as we have been in these discussions, I think it's become clear that a lot of the ideas that we discuss are very conceptual and a little bit hard to kind of comprehend what it may look like. So Nathan and I talked with MSA about putting together some conceptual drawings, kind of like we had for the Alonzo Park Master Plan, that just kind of lays it out and shows some possible options. I think that makes it easier for people to kind of see what it could look like, rather than just talking in abstract ideas. So they were able to do that at a small fee for 2 different options in that area that we could use as we continue those conversations.
Does anyone have questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion.
Can you explain the 2 options you said?
Well, there's a bunch of different things that we're looking at, but 2 of the things we're looking at is having the bike trail come down through downtown, and either on the north side or the south side of Black Otter Creek. So those are the 2 main distinctions that we want to really lay out for people, and then just see how they like it, or if there's different things that they would like to add or see put into those concepts. But seeing where that trail could potentially go through and how it would look when it's laid out, I think, are the 2 main things. As far as possible, and additional paving and things like that.
All conceptual at this point? right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what.
No engineering or anything like that. I think having a landscape architect involved, though, kind of helps lay all those things out and makes it in the best possible position, and just makes it easier to kind of comprehend what it may look like.
Plus the existing architecture around then.
Yeah.
See where, compared to this, compared to that.
Exactly. Rather than just looking at aerial and pointing your finger, it could be here.
Mhm. Any other questions? If not, we would need a motion for MSA to go ahead.
So this is the approval MSA,
For the $2,500,
pardon me?
the one that's $2,500.
Oh, am I seeing 6750?
That's the next
you
one.
go up. So give your page 28 of the packet.
Okay, I went too far, I apologize. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement with MSA, professional service agreement, for the amount of $2,500.
I'll second.
Roll call, Shawna.
Aye.
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 Julie?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. F, discussion and possible action on stewardship grant application.
So this next one, kind of dealing with a lot of what we were talking about before with Alonzo Park, is using MSA services to apply for stewardship grants to help fund phase one of the Alonzo Park master plan. So this is for applications, and we clarified this with MSA a couple days ago, for not only possible trails, but possible federal grants that could help fund work with the playground, splash pad, potentially the building that the well house is in. They have a grant specialist that, if this is approved, will work with the DNR and federal agencies with the plan that they have already laid out to see how many grants and where those grants could be applicable for this. The idea of starting it now helps because if there's federal grants involved, those take almost a year to process. So, and then you have 2 years to spend them. So we're trying to get ahead of the game to see if we can line up a lot of this grant funding so that we're ready to move forward with this if the RFPs that we're going to put out come in at an acceptable place, to have everything lined up in the future for 2025, maybe 2026 construction. And I have worked with some of the stewardship grants in the past, and a lot of those are 50-50 matching funds. And some of the federal ones may be even more than that. Some of them are 75-25, with them putting forth 75% and the village having to come up with the extra 25%.
Does anyone have questions? Otherwise, we would need a motion for MSA to go ahead with this application, grant application.
I'll make a motion for MSA to perform the Village of Hortonville 2023 stewardship grant application process in the amount of $6,750.
Second?
Roll call, Shawna.
Aye.
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 Julie?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. F, discussion and possible, sorry, I already did that. G, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion?
I'm wondering if we can have future agenda item on the process or policy on how to address any complaints that are brought to board members. Just, look into that.
Okay, Nathan, can you put that on the agenda?
Yeah, we'll put it on the 16th of March. That way I'll be back, I guess.
Any other topics? Okay, we'll go to 10, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer.
My report was in the packet.
Does anyone have questions for Jane? Okay. We will go to B, Director of Public Works, Aaron.
My report was also in the packet. Some additional things I'm working on that weren't in the packet is just meeting with different engineering firms to look at possibilities of upgrading our GIS and just basically information system capabilities. Some of the information that I'm still kind of looking into is a little old and outdated. So I'm meeting with McMahon next week to kind of talk about where we're at with what the village infrastructure is and the data that they have, and then maybe some easier ways to update it so it's more current.
Anyone have questions for Aaron? Okay, we will move to C, Police Chief.
My report was also in the packet. Also, like to do a public safety meeting on March 9th. I'll send out an email to everybody. 6 o'clock for discussion of parking, the cameras system. Just like to report that another camera went down this week. So one by one they're going. And then I think what we're gonna do is, Nathan and Sergeant Barr and I have discussed, we're gonna bring the SRO, the school resource officer, to the meeting. We're gonna try doing like informative things to the public safety, just kind of the things that he does in the school, things like that.
Does anyone have questions for Chris? Okay, we'll go to D, Library Director, and Ally is out.
Ally just asked me to report a couple things for her.
Sure.
They've been ramping up the collection development, and Ally met with someone from Fox Cities Magazine to discuss wider publicity options for the library. And last night, Friends of the Library had a Norwex party to raise money for cleaning supplies for the library. They'll get all the bonus items that were earned. And the website is open for another week if anybody's interested in ordering.
Okay. We'll move to E, Attorney.
Late last fall, we met and discussed a claim that the village had received, and that involved a minor who was in foster care. I think you probably should remember some of those details.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to let you know we haven't received any additional communication or correspondence from the person who filed that complaint. I didn't see any path forward for them. So I'm not surprised by that, but the insurance company has closed out that file. So at this point, I just wanted to make you aware, in case anyone was wondering what happened with it, it's been closed. And then Attorney Flukaft will be at your next meeting. I'll be on vacation, somewhere much warmer.
Any questions for Ashley?
Thank you.
F, Administrator.
So I met with Fox Cities Magazine, and starting in September, the first September issue for the Village Voice, they're going to be doing the production of it for us. Working with them, and they're going to be selling some ads in it as well. So it's going to be looking a little different than it does now, and it'll be kind of like a glossy finish and a little higher resolution on stuff. Basically, we would just submit articles to them. They create it, print it, send it, less office work. We kind of talked a little bit kind of how the budget is and where we were looking at trying to expense. They wanted a little leniency on some of the stuff, at least at first, because they didn't know how many ads they were going to be able to get the first time in it. So they said that they would have better ideas later on and closer towards that date of where they're going to be financially with it. So the first one, we will have to submit our articles 2 months ahead of time, which would be July 1st. So that first one will be a little longer because they need to figure out how they're going to lay out the articles as best as possible. Otherwise, it'll most likely in the future be a month. The other thing is that they won't be doing inserts. So anything that's been an insert in the past would probably just have to be its own article rather than like a page insert like we've done, like the library used to submit and stuff like that. So there was that. We did hire a rec director this week, and it was accepted by the director now, Quinn Heinz. He's the current softball coach for the Hortonville high school team. So he works at Neenah School District currently and used to be the rec director for the city of Horton. So.
Nice.
Other than that, I will be out the next week. Starting tomorrow, I'll be out for a week on vacation. So.
Does anyone have questions for Nathan?
Could I just, I talked to Nathan about this after hearing about the rec director hiring, but Friends of the Library did approve the scholarship program again, that they will be the fiscal agent to coordinate any donations for the scholarship program. So we'll be sending out letters for that again.
Good.
And the last thing that I'll mention is you should have in front of you a little packet that really looks like nothing. It's actually from the court. I've been working with the court clerk on basically a listing of the outstanding amounts that are due to the village. So these are all the ones that are due from 12/31/22 and before. So if you look at the back page, you'll see with the amounts that are owed still by year that are outstanding. And she's been working actually on trying to collect as much of this as possible. So
Do we know if all of these are in the new system yet, or if they're
so
still
there's a
commingled?
listing, and I talked with her about it, and we looked at it. There's like 30 of them that are still in the old system that I talked to her, and sounds like she's gonna switch them all over. And then she's been sending out letters too, as well. And she said she sent out like 5 or 10 letters to sample it, and she got a few 3 payments, I think, back from people that didn't realize they had outstanding debts. So the nice thing is we can generate this report pretty quickly and easily, and it will be quarterly, so then we can track kind of how they're going, and then at the end of the year, we just add another year on, so next year you'd see what's outstanding from 2023. So we'll be able to slowly see how it drops, and then probably would increase obviously in the January of next year.
The ones that are in the old system yet, I mean, are they the oldest ones, or is it commingled?
It's commingled. And basically, if you see how some of them are together, that's one person is basically how it is.
So they're grouped together for a single person?
Right. So you will see some that have like 15 or so, but yeah.
You probably don't know this answer either, but do we know if the ones that are in the old system dollar, like how amount, I mean,
No, I can get that though.
that'd be interesting to know the dollar amounts for those.
Yeah, I mean, they're in here.
Because the new
but,
system is
yeah.
obviously, we have better luck in collecting in the new
Right.
system than the old, so it'd be interesting to know what percentage of the
Of these.
outstanding is related to, is in the old system, which is less
Right.
easy to collect.
Any questions for Nathan? Okay, we'll go to G, building permit report. There is none. 11, communications and miscellaneous business. A, Black Otter Lake District News. Pat?
Sean is going to be scheduling a meeting in the next couple of weeks to discuss the stocking the fish. There's a deadline that we have to order them if we're gonna go ahead with it, so he wanted to meet as soon as possible, or within the next 2 weeks, so, we'll be having a meeting soon. And then there is a website if you're interested in signing up to help with the lake cleanup, which is scheduled for May 6th. It was posted on the Black Otter Lake District Facebook page, and maybe I can ask Lauren to share that on the village page. There's the same coordinator as last year is coordinating the site, so it should be all set. Alley Cat's donating cookies, so I think it'll be good.
And our staff will clean up the garbage that we collect.
Oh, yep, and Aaron, I talked to Aaron the other day, they're set to pick up the garbage bags on that Monday following, so it's all set.
Then do you do a date where if you have bad weather? Or do you just do rain or shine?
Yeah, that's through the Fox Wolf Water Alliance, so
Okay,
if they don't cancel it, it's a go.
okay. Okay, we'll go to B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News. Jim and Zoe, do you have anything? No? Okay. C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report News, that is in the packet. D, Hortonville Civic Association, and Peter is out. And the E, Senior Activities Committee.
We meet next Thursday at noon. The manager of the meal site here is going to join our committee as a regular attendee, so she has a lot of contact with the people that come in to play cards and other things, so I think her joining us would be helpful. And we had Jim Guerin from the food pantry come to our potluck, and very informational. So that was worth having a speaker.
Okay, and we'll go to 12, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Does anyone have anything? Okay, we'll go to 13, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? We are now adjourned.